Hello chess friends, this is FIDE Master Valeri Lilov and welcome to today's lecture on chesslecture.com. What I'd like to start today is a new series of lectures on the typical mistakes that are made very often by most of the beginner and intermediate chess players. And today I'd like to concentrate on one of the topics that turns out to be quite relevant and important. It's called impulsive thinking. Impulsive thinking is something which many intermediate players really suffer from. And what I'm going to try to explain today is how can one actually deal with this problem, and most importantly, in general, why this problem exists, and most importantly, how, in fact, we can methodically, like this, also I like to call it this habit, how can we take it away from our style of play, because it's more like a habit. First of all, what is impulsive thinking? Impulsive thinking means like when you see a move, for example, you see some good-looking move or combination, you say, oh, definitely that's something that I would like to play. So without even enough thinking, we immediately decide that this is going to be something which we would like to do. We go in that direction, we choose this move, we think that we're good, and suddenly we find that this is actually quite a bad idea, and the opponent has an excellent way to meet it. So basically, I'd like to show you an example like that. The game which was played between the young masters Hasanov and Arakilov in the Azerbaijan city of Baku, 1960. After the moves of e4, d6, d4, knight f6, and knight c3, we see that the Pirc defense is actually played when black played g6, and then white played bishop up to g5. This opening is known for its popularity by many of the strong players to go with it when they play black. So black's main intention is generally to develop his pieces fast, like with bishop g7. He can counter the white center afterwards with c5, or just prepare the more positional c6 and b5 with ideas to expand on the queen's length. So it's something like the King's Indian against first e4. Of course, white is saving now one tempo, so he doesn't have the pawn on c4, and he can utilize it for an additional development. But that's about the opening and what are the main strategic ideas. Black played his bishop on g7, after which white brought his queen on d2. Black castled short, and of course, white decided to castle long. The main plans of both sides right now are, in my opinion, pretty clear. First of all, white is intending to go on the king side, so he would like to place his bishop on h6. This will help him to exchange the important dark square bishop from black, and further on, considering the weak squares that black's king will get, white can prepare f3 to g4 and h4 with an upcoming pawn storm on that side of the board. And on the other hand, black will have some hard time until he really finds an open file, but pretty much he'll have a similar idea with c6, b5, and then b4. Now, who will be faster? Every time when there are opposite castled kings, the one who is managing his ideas to open up the opponent's kings faster, in fact, will have the successful play. So therefore, after long castles, black played a6. Now, c6 would have been a little bit more suitable for this position, but let's imagine that black wanted to push up something like c5. So I do not think that this move was really a mistake or something. It was kind of stable idea to play a6, and as soon as this move really went on, in fact, what white decided to continue with was f3, b5, g4, and then knight bd7. And now, in fact, if some player is actually going with white here, and he does not know theory, because very often when we know theory, we follow it straight without any additional thinking. Player who doesn't know theory probably would have continued here with the different ideas, but not h4. Now h4 is probably a move that is very logical. It actually follows our plan, and any strong player would decide to play it. However, white found a very interesting different idea. Why not to break through the center? The move like e5 seems like if black decides to play d-dix to e5, he can't take the pawn, just because white is having the two pieces aligned on the D file, so it will put pressure against black's queen. Also, we can easily see that if black just moves the knight back, he can do it after d takes 3, or he can do it immediately, doesn't matter. White can have similar ideas like knight d5 to put pressure on e7. He can already have activities like bishop h6, preparing h4 to h5. So this pawn in any way will somehow slow down black in any way, and I suppose well, it will be quite a hard task for black to manage this counterplay. So white saw e5. He saw all these ideas and he said, that's the move that I have to play. No further calculation. He forgot to ask himself the main question. What is black gonna do in case I do e5? Okay, that sounds good. That sounds like a very strong idea. But still, it is my opponent, so he's not gonna be that happy seeing me proceeding on the king's flank. And he forgot asking this essential question of this correct strategy. So basically, anytime when we see a move like e5, with which we're going to create a dangerous threat against the opponent, we should never play such kind of a move immediately. Of course, I don't mean those games that are like 5 minutes or 3 minutes blitz or internet. You know, when you play 3 minutes games, definitely that forces you to play very quickly. So I cannot have this advice, you know, to the players who often play such type of control. I just want to claim that basically when we play such type of control, in fact, 3 minutes or 5 minutes, although maybe 5 minutes is if we play very much, but 3 minutes games definitely teach us to think more impulsively, because we play without so much thinking. We play without analyzing the position in the best way possible. So, how can we consider whether e5 is going to be a good opportunity or if it's not going to be a good opportunity? Well, very often when we play a given opening, this opening already shows us exactly where we'll be planning. Well, at least it is so if you know that opening. If you don't know it, well, probably you don't know what to go. But, okay, let's imagine that you know certain opening. Now, as for example, here, white know that his plan is going to be on the king's line. Every time when we are playing in the opening, we have to ask ourselves what are the best ways to develop, or what are the most appropriate improving moves with which eventually we will supply our plan. This principle works not only in the opening, but also in the middle game. Most of the players really don't suffer so much because they don't make a plan. You know, everyone makes some kind of plan. It might happen to be, you know, like even a automatic process. I mean, we are starting to do some play, and we don't know exactly, we haven't decided what kind of plan we'll follow. We just think that these moves are good looking, and yet, even there, then they follow some kind of plan. So, why do we fail then? Why do chess players fail with their plans? Is it because they're just playing them, not promoting them in a good way, or maybe just because they don't find the most appropriate ones? I don't think that it is because they don't promote them well, or because they just choose wrong plans. It's because they don't follow them, and now this is pretty much, you know, like a big claim that I'm saying. Okay, how can they don't follow the plan? I mean, what they do then? They distract, you know, literally moves like e5 or e5 or any of these, as we call them, impulsive decisions, distract us from the main goal that we have in a certain area of the board. So when we decide that we are going to go on the given area of the board, like for example on the king's flank, we decide we're going to advance the pawn with h4 and do whatever, we have to follow this type of outline in a strict way. Except something really serious happens on an opposite area, or for example, the opponent makes something. We've got to follow only those moves that are going to promote our type of plan in the fastest way possible. Now, most of the players, unfortunately, did not follow that idea. So they distract. They see something like e5 and they say, oh, that's something which I'd like to do. And that was really bad. So right now when white played e5, it all looks good. But unfortunately, that move did not have anything in common with the plan. And, of course, the antidote to such a move is pawn to b4, a powerful antidote. Now it happens clear that in case white decides to take with e takes f6, then black can recapture with b takes to c3, and after e takes c,